Ladies and gentlemen, if you'll give us your attention, we'll get started. We have a quorum, and at 8:10 we're going to get started. Let me first of all apologize to the committee for I think my mistake in the way we voted yesterday on a couple of motions, but I don't think it changed the outcome. But I've talked to the individuals concerned, and I failed to take the opposite vote on a substitute motion, and we subsequently did vote to pass the bill out, and it passed, but still it was a procedural thing, and I apologize. I just I've got my two officers of the committee up here this morning to try to keep us straight, so hopefully we won't have that problem again. Thank y'all for your indulgence. We're going to call House Bill 106, which is the general budget for the fiscal year 2014, and make a few comments first, and then we'll cover some highlights and see about your questions. I will tell you in the beginning that we had trouble with the microphones at the desk yesterday afternoon, and apparently that has not been corrected. So we've got a call out for folks that do the maintenance to come see about them. So hopefully we've got 5 minutes or so of presentations, and we'll hopefully maybe get those fixed in a few minutes. So I apologize if we don't get them fixed, and we'll just have questions and just ask you to stand or speak louder. I apologize. I don't know. We can't tell. There's a warning light going up here, and we don't know if that's the problem or not. So, but thank you for your indulgence and for being here this morning. Let me first of all thank the members of the Appropriations Committee for your diligence and the work. The budget process is pretty involved now. I can remember when a few folks passed it through and everybody rubber stamped it and it just went and that was it. Now our subcommittees are intimately involved, and along with our analysts and getting information and I think truly understand their parts of the budget more than I can ever remember, and I appreciate that, because our subcommittee chairs all have other duties. In many cases are chairs of standing committees. So your work on the budget is in addition to everything else you do, and I just want to thank the subcommittee chairs and subcommittee members for your work as well. We have an outstanding staff at the Senate Budget and Evaluation Office. Jason Fernandez, who's sitting to my left, has done an outstanding job and really is very conscientious about trying to help our senators become more knowledgeable. We had a couple of folks I wanted to just mention for duty above and I guess work above and beyond the call of duty. Some of you, as you watched us go through the process, remember that Melody DeBussy, who's our deputy chair, was pregnant. Well, she worked all the way through the process, had the baby, last Friday, was back at work on Monday afternoon working on bonds, and has put in some time every day this week, and including some time from home as well, all while caring for a newborn. And Felicity Bell is her name. I just want you to know, I mean, that's amazing, and in this day and age, Melody just deserves our thanks. The other person who stepped forward to kind of fill the void for that leadership, because Melody wasn't there on an hour-by-hour basis, was Tara Holder, who's been with the office for about 3 years. And unfortunately, we're losing Tara. But let me tell you, I think it's a salute to the state and to us when somebody leaves the state and goes to private industry. I think that's a sign of a person that's doing the right things. And so, Tara, we appreciate your work and we salute you for that. And we're actually going to keep your job open a while. We're not so sure about that, but she did. She filled in and just did a fantastic job. So thank you. And of course, poor Angela, who works for me and suffers through all the things she has to staff this committee, and it's extremely challenging to set up 14 subcommittee meetings and that are overlaid all of the regular committee meetings, and work with, of course, all of you who have other responsibilities as well. But she does it, and does it with with a tremendous amount of energy and attention. And Angela, we appreciate your hard work as well. So if y'all would just join me maybe in giving all these folks a big hand, I appreciate it. You've got two things in your folders this morning. You've got a budget, the Senate version of the 2014 budget, and you've got a differences report that you can look at and see the differences in fact, our report. The one reason we like our report is that it shows you the governor's position, the House position, and the Senate position all in the same sheet, and it gives you financial information as well. So that's a very, very good report. It'll help you as you try to pick out the things that you're interested in as well. I don't have a lot of remarks this morning, but we're just going to touch on a few things that seem important. But to sort of put it in perspective, let me just say that the FY14 budget totals $19.8 billion in state funds, and revenue estimates based on 5% growth rate over the 13 revenue. That's a challenge in and of itself in this day and age. The budget fills some real holes we have, and when I hear somebody say, well, why in the world are we still cutting, and why aren't revenues up? And the word is always, aren't they up? Well, yes, they are up. They're up to about where we were in 2005. This is where they are. And we continue to struggle because we've got certain costs of government that we're having to deal with that are increasing, and I'll talk about those in a second. But we've got fairly moderate growth in revenue, and it's actually along with just about where every other state is around the country. Very few states, I think only 5 states were projecting revenue growth of over 5% for this year. So everybody's in about the same boat. But our problem is we have these other costs that including Medicaid and these other things that I'll mention in just a second, that's soaking up all of the revenue increase that we have. And so we continue to have issues with revenue. So that's where we are. The revenue growth that we had was combined with about $200 million in agency cuts to fill several holes, and quickly here are some of them. There's about a $224 million hole in Medicaid. Our state retirement plans, as we continue to keep them funded to the level that will ensure that our retirement funds will be there when those who are working today retire. We put in a total of $129 million into those 4 retirement plans, including TRS, ERS, the Public School Employees Fund, and the Georgia Military Retirement. We have a small retirement plan for members of the National Guard as well. The actuaries set the bar for what we have to have in these funds to meet our future obligation. It's a formula. It's not just a figure somebody pulls out of the air. And as that obligation changes, as people live longer, and the actuary recognizes that, the amount that we have to put in to keep them at a good, well-funded rate changes as well. So there's $129 million in there for those. We continue in our 4-year plan, according to our Department of Justice agreement with the Department of Behavioral Health. So there's some $35.3 million in new funds for behavioral health as part of that agreement as well, mostly funded towards hospitals. But that department, I think, is doing much better. And at the end of this agreement, then of course they'll be back like any other department. This budget also funds growth in K-12 systems of 1.36%. It's about $147 million that funds both the growth and the salary schedule. Just for your information, is now 1.6 million children in Georgia's public schools, and they're being taught by 118,000 teachers. The budget funds enrollment growth in the Board of Regents of some 76 million, and when you add up all these holes or all these contingencies that we're meeting, it totals about $650 million. So as you look on that front page and you see the revenue growth over in that column, then you realize that 650 didn't go very far. So with revenue growth of 522 million, you can tell right away we've got a difference there, and that difference was met with agency cuts. But despite the cuts and with management, I think, of resources that we do have, the governor and the House and now the Senate has made some improvements for the state in this budget, and we'll touch on those. First on the list is, I think, as important as anything we're doing, and that's the $50 million in bonds for the harbor deepening at Savannah to continue the state's commitment to this project. And hopefully, if the federal government will come along with their portion, we'll have that project completed in time to have those huge ships coming down the Savannah River. The Lieutenant Governor's leading an initiative called Invest Georgia that'll bring new jobs to Georgia and keep jobs that we are creating here, utilizing venture capital for Georgia-based technology and bioscience companies and industries. There's a $10 million investment in that in Invest Georgia that is utilizing $10 million of the $15 million new dollars being allocated to One Georgia. The REBA funds, and I never can remember what that stands for. It's Regional Economic Business Assistance Funds, I think which is the deal maker funds we have in economic development. As part of the governor's commitment when he moved the foreclosure funds, he's got $9.4 million in new funds for REBA. So that economic development effort will be well funded, and the governor is honoring his commitment to do that. And then, of course, this $15 million in total new dollars for One Georgia. As I said, 10 of that is in the Senate budget is being moved to the Invest Georgia initiative. One of the things that the governor's done as part of juvenile justice reform is to set up a $5 million fund for juvenile court incentive funding grants to give local courts some options locally, and that process that process is moved in the House and Senate budgets to the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. The Senate restored $1.8 million to the Governor's Office of Children and Families for community strategy grants as well. We've moved funding for the Georgia Archives. As you know, we're moving archives to Regents. We've included some $300,000 in new funds to help, which we hope will be combined with some natural efficiencies that Regents will have in hosting the archives. So we believe that the archives is headed in the right direction. In education, we included $8 million in charter school system grants to continue the very successful education movement that Lieutenant Governor has spearheaded. The Senate also restored the cut to school nutrition to zero, restoring some $1.3 million cut to school nutrition, and there's now not a cut to school nutrition in the Senate budget. We created a new program to separate out the cost of health insurance from the QBE formula. There's a lot of discussion about the cost of health insurance and the QBE formula, and we've actually been thinking about this for quite a while. I just want to put this in perspective for you. How I mentioned the 118,000 teachers. The cost of health insurance for teachers alone in Georgia is 5.6% of the whole state budget. It's $1.1 billion. So as we look at what we're doing with the QBE formula, we think that probably it's smart to separate out that piece of benefits so that we can truly focus on when we send a new dollar to systems that we'll know that it's going to the classroom. As you look back over the years, we realize because the state is paying for the health insurance for teachers, and of course systems are paying in as well, but as the state is paying for it through the QBE formula, new funds go into the QBE formula. Look, systems don't see any new money, but yet we're sending more money down. A lot of times it has been for health insurance. So we think that's a good initiative. We know that creating new programs in the middle of the process is not something that actually we support normally, but we think the timing may be right on that. By the way, there's no cut to the QBE formula in the Senate budget, nor is there one in the House budget as well. In post-secondary education, the Senate restored the cut to the tuition equalization grant of some 5.25 million. We think that the TEG is a good program for Georgia citizens, and we're happy that we did that. Senate also restored the cut to Gwinnett College of 8.25 million, and we, in our budget, by language, endorsed the plan that has been worked out between the chancellor and the college for a phase out of about 2/3 of the startup special initiative funding that Gwinnett has had, and we support that plan. Probably the addition we're proudest of is restoration of what we considered horrific reductions that the technical college system of Georgia had taken, some $27 million. And it's not all a cut. I want to be sure everybody understands that part of the reduction for the technical college system had to do with the reduction in the enrollment figures. And there are lots of reasons for that, that Hope Scholarship, the other issues, change to the semester system. But the truth is, it was about a 10% cut to technical colleges around the state, and we believe that's not good for technical education in the state. So we have restored, the House restored $6 million. We added another $4.5 million, so we've got a total add back for technical colleges of some $10.5 million, and we're very proud of that. We think that's a good add. In bonds, and I'll just take a moment to touch on bonds and appreciate the work of Senator Staten and a number of people in the bond area. The House and Senate members this year, I think more than many, worked together in a lot of bond projects, and the House put in half, and we came along and put in half a number of projects. and with the governor's cooperation, there's some $56.9 million, first of all, in equipment funds that the governor has helped put back in the budget that were added for construction projects that were being completed this year. So these are equipment funds that are needed in order to open up classrooms. In the Regents part of the budget, the Senate budget contains $58.8 million for for Georgia State's Humanities Law Building. It does seem a little strange for the name of the purpose of a bill in humanities and law all in the same sentence. It seems something missing there, but anyway, I usually don't. When I'm trying to be funny, it usually falls on a face like that, doesn't it? I also lose a few votes on the budget from the lawyers too. But anyway, the Georgia State's Humanities Law Building. It's $10 million. It's hard to see how they could coexist in the same building. It's $10 million for a larger health services and counseling center at Georgia Southern. $45 million for Georgia Regents University for the new Cancer Research Center, $10 million for a Military and Veterans Academic and Training Center at Middle Georgia State College, and that will be in Warner Robins, near Robins Air Force Base. $17 million for much of the cost of a new science building at Clayton State. So that project has made it in the budget, and we need a little bump to get it up to 19.9, and we'll have it. The Regents have come out with a list of under $5 million small capital projects, and this is a really good thing because what we're doing is helping colleges all over the state renovate existing buildings, and in an era where enrollment may be starting to flatten out, it really makes good sense to freshen up and expand maybe the buildings we have. So there are a number of projects in there that are these small, what we call small cap projects, and as I said, the Senate cooperated with the House, and there's over $62 million between the two of us that in new funds for these small cap projects statewide. In technical college construction includes $12.19 million for the Wiregrass Technical College Allied Health Building, $8.26 million for a health sciences building at Swainsboro campus of Southeastern Tech, and I guess the last thing I'd mention is a few things we didn't get to do all we wanted to do, and I guess everybody understands the whole budget process is a process of picking priorities and making choices, and sometimes the choices are between two things you really want, and that happens an awful lot. When we started the process, the first run through we were out $20 million, and so we worked for about 2 days to try to whittle that difference down. And the truth is, the House, when they find the money to do the things they want to do, sometimes those are those funds are taken from areas that we don't agree with, and when we put the money back, then we're of course faced with a choice of how to fund some of the things that they funded. They're certainly sincere in their efforts, and we are too, but there are a couple of areas I just mentioned that we were unable to restore as much as they did, and one of them is the provider cut. There was a 0.74% provider cut in the governor's budget. The House restored it all. We only restored half of that cut, 0.37. And then the foster care, out-of-home care facilities all around the state who not had an increase in 10 years or so. The House had increased their provider payment by 3%. In our budget, we were unable to do but 1.5%. So in conference, what we'll do, of course, is we'll come together, and the governor will be a part of the conference process because there are things in both budgets that the governor has an interest in as well. But I think it'll be a good discussion of the issues, and then we'll come together and try to find the right number that then produces a balanced budget. The bottom line is Georgia will come out of this process, I believe, with a balanced budget that will, as best we can with the resources we have, meet the needs of the people of the state. So with that, I appreciate your attention, and I'll be glad to open up for questions. Jason's up here with me, and some of our subcommittee chairs are here as well, and so if you've got questions, we'll be glad to entertain them. I haven't seen anybody from maintenance, so I'm assuming your speakers won't work, but we'll try it and see. So if you got questions, now's a good time. I see a few smiles. That's a good sign. Okay, well, Senator Heath and Senator Carter has a question. Senator Heath? Oh, okay. All right, Senator Carter, you got a question?
I do. Mr. Chairman, when we discussed hospitals and the effect on Senate Bill 24, did we ever find out what happened with that?
Did what now?
Senate Bill 24 that we passed with hospital providers, there was language in there that said that we would not make cuts, and there was confusion.
We believe we didn't make any changes in the budget that will impact that.
Did we get clarification on that? Was that indeed part of Senate Bill 24?
We don't know a lot more we knew the other day. Okay. Senator Heath, you're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I move to pass on Senate Substitute House Bill 106.
Second.
Senator Williams, you have a question? I tell you what. My daddy used to say, with friends like that, you still need friends. So. All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second on that motion? Senator Carter seconded. All right, any discussion on the motion to pass out House Bill 106 by substitute? Okay, I assume you're ready to vote. If everybody in favor of this motion would raise your hand, please. See that Clayton State delegation back there raising their hand. And all opposed. I do not see a nay vote. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your attention and your involvement in the process. Thank you. Members, remember the Rules Committee meeting at 9 a.m.